Now, Poppy never drove a car,
Mm-mm.
but you did.
Yeah, he could drive, but he didn't drive.
He didn't want to
He would have had to get a special license.
because of his heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so when did you get your license?
I think Tommy was, it was when Tommy was born, I think. And I know my brother, he was teaching me how to drive. At one time I stopped the car and I says, "You can keep your car." Because he was telling me what to do and he hollered at me, I guess. "Keep your old car, I don't want to drive." So then I got my license and I bought his car. Because he worked at the Ford plant. And then we got our own car, bought our own car.
So what was your first car?
A Ford.
You remember what model? No?
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been in the 1950s or?
Oh yeah, let's see. Yeah, it would be the early 1950s. Because Bob was born in 50, and I got my license then.
So you've never lived anywhere but Buffalo?
That's right.
And you ever been tempted to go anywhere else?
Mm-mm.
No?
Nope.
So, anything you want to tell Eliza and Skylar about Buffalo? Because they won't grow up here. They're going to grow up in other places.
Well, I loved it, and the kids, all grew up there in the same neighborhood in the First Ward, and I think they had a good time all grown up.
So even I remember that when I was little, that you lived around the corner from your parents
Mm-hmm.
and your sister. So describe for them just how close everybody lived to
We
each
were
other.
just a block apart. They lived on one street and I lived in the next one. Yeah, we all lived close together. And like if I did go out and the kids would come home from school, if I wasn't going to be home, they always went to my mother's.
And that was just a block away.
Around the corner.
Right around the corner. And your sister Margie lived upstairs from your mom and dad.
She always lived upstairs, or right close to them.
And your parents died pretty close to each other.
They died 6 weeks apart.
And how did that happen?
Well, my father, I think it was old age. He was 93. And my mother was 83, 84 years old.
And your dad died first?
Mm-hmm. He died in October, and 6 weeks later my mother died in December of 77.
And do you think she would have lived longer if he had lived longer?
My mother was sick, my father wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
My mother had cancer of the eye, and she died with cancer. But what really killed her was a heart attack. And I remember one day, Timmy was going to my mother's. And right around the corner there was a barber shop. And Timmy was maybe 8, maybe. If he was 10, he was old. And the guy was getting shaved. And Doc Walsh was the barber. And Timmy knocked at the window. And Jimmy Black was getting a shave. And he was a crab. And he knocked at the window, and Doc looked up, and he went to Doc, cut his throat. He jumped out of the barber shop chair, and he chased him across the street, and Jimmy ran to my mother's and get inside the door. Oh, he was a crabby old. son of a gun.
So the house I remember was the one on Sidway Street.
Mhm.
And when did you move into that one?
Paul was a couple of months old.
So like
That was in
1950?
50. Mhm.
And you lived there until the 1980s.
Yeah.
What year do you remember?
I moved in 1982. It was after he died, Daddy died in 80, and I moved in 82. Then I lived at the Marine Drive until a year ago, and I
Right.
moved here.
And Grandpa was sick a long time before he died.
Yeah, he had a stroke, but he was never really sick. You know what I mean? He was never really real sick. My mother was the one that was sick, but not my father.
But Poppy was sick a long time.
Yeah.
And what did he die from?
The heart.
Just had a bad heart. Because I remember you were in the hospital for months and months and months with him.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that like?
He was, he just, he couldn't get operated when that happened. They didn't know enough. But as time went on, they learned a lot about the heart. And he went to Dr. Rose, and he wanted him to take disability. And he wouldn't take it because he wanted to keep working. And after GE closed, he used to work on the dock. He was like a watchman, and he worked just enough that he wouldn't go over his Social Security.
So Poppy died in 1980.
80.
And he was how old when that happened?
69.
So he was born in 1911.
1910. He was
1910?
69 he was 69. He died the 30th of January, and he would have been 70 in February.